Hey everybody, it's Joe, Redneck Collector, coming at you with another video. Happy New Year to everybody. It is January 1st, 2025 as I record this video. Hopefully I will also get it out today, this evening. But just want to wish everybody out there in the card community a Happy New Year. And of course, with the new year, I'm thinking about, goals. I thought about doing a recap video of last year, but I'm so new to this, and I do have a lot of cards that I've picked up at grading right now. So, we'll save that maybe for some other videos, and we'll focus on what 2025 has in store. And I have to warn you, I try to keep my videos, I'm a talker, but I try to keep them under control. But this one might be a little bit longer. I might ramble a little bit. This one might make Dylan or Greg or somebody along those lines proud, because I might go for a little bit here. I might wax philosophical. So buckle up or tune out, whatever you want to do. This is cathartic for me. I appreciate the ones that stay and listen and comment. But anyway, talk a little bit about what I've got planned for this year as far as my collecting goes. And I actually put pen to paper, and normally I've kind of switched to digital, but sometimes it helps me, scratch things out, things of that nature. And I stole a little bit from a lot of other collectors as far as, I was influenced, plagiarized, whatever word you want to use. But the tier system kind of works for me because I cast a wide net. I think if you've watched any of these videos, you see that I buy a lot. I'm not as focused as I should be. The number one thing that I think guides my collecting more than anything is I'm looking for a good deal, because I want it all. So when the deal happens, I just happen to get it maybe a little bit sooner. It's harder for me to prioritize that way because I'm prioritizing the deal. So I don't know if that could be beaten out of me if it had to be. So that's just the way I'm going to collect. So this list might seem a little bit too much for some of y'all or scatterbrained, but it works for me, or I'm going to see if it'll work for me. Late this last year, I started working off of a hit list, at least for my bigger cards. I called it my hit list. I kept it in my phone, and these were like the top 25 cards that I was going after. Of course, I bought tons of other cards that were not on that list, but it worked for me because it kept me focused, and I did manage to, that list stands at, I don't know, maybe like 16 or 14 or something like that now. And honestly, some of those are new ones that have been added, but I kind of put that to the side and put pen to paper. And I'm going to go through 4 different tiers here is how I did it, with 4 being the lowest. Really, this is more based on value, what I think it's going to take from my collecting budget to do this, or maybe priority. Also kind of a combination of the two, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know that it makes sense to me, but that's how I wrote it down. But one thing I want to talk about with this is, I'm influenced by a lot of the videos that are out there, in a good way. I mean, I'm not, nobody's twisting my arm, but there's so many cool things that I see on different channels that it's like I didn't know it existed. Aaron at Value Vintage is constantly showing me things that I've never seen before, or Jason at Everyday Card Collector showing me things I've never seen before. Bill at Billy Ballgame has shown me cool refractors that I missed out on because I was out of the hobby during that time. So I'm easily influenced, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's bad to be influenced by your hobby, card community, friends, whatever you want to call it. But the other thing that has influenced me a lot is I find myself, I love history. I was a history major in college, so baseball history, with collecting is kind of a crossroads for me. So I find myself being influenced by books, right? One of the things that's on my list is I'm going to keep going, and this is a coffee table book. This isn't quite, research-driven type of book, but this is Mike Payne's 300 Great Baseball Cards. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend pick up a copy. It's got some great cards in it. A lot of these cards are cards that I wanted anyway. So so that kind of gives me a list, and that's something I'm going to continue to pick up, is if it's a card that's on there, I'm probably going to buy a copy, right? If it's reasonable, if it's in the budget. The other thing that has had a profound impact on my collecting here lately is The Glory of Their Times. So this is, everybody talks about this book. I hadn't read it. I finished it not too long ago, probably a week or two ago I finished it. And, Tony, Southern Collectors, talked about it. Sammy's talked about it. So many collectors have talked about it. This is a great book, y'all. It's a super easy, quick read. It's broken into basically the stories of these different players. and I want to pick up some of their cards. And I'm not talking about just the expensive ones. You know, I'm looking for Germany Schaefer cards, because after reading about Germany Schaefer, I'm really interested in, that. Hans Lobert, or Hans number 2, Joe Wood Collector. Doug did a great video on Hans, so check that out. He was one that I wanted anyway, and then after watching that video, I was like, oh, I got to pick up some cards. And these are guys that are fairly cheap, right? They're not the big expensive names coming out. Davy Jones, I'm trying to think, Heine Groh. You know, there's some of these cards they're reasonable. I want to pick some of those cards up because now I feel attached to the story by reading that book. So read the book. You know, check out some of those cards. I'm definitely going to be buying some of those this year, just whenever the deal comes around. This right here, the Gas House Gang. Great story. It's all about it gives the history of, you know, the Cardinals in the late 20s all the way up through like the 34 season and how they kind of built the team. And it talks a lot about Branch Rickey, Dizzy Dean. It focuses on Dizzy Dean a lot. How could you not? Leo DeRocher, Pepper Martin, you know, Frankie Frisch, all these great names. I'm going to be buying some of these cards. In fact, I might have one for, you know, that might be going through eBay Authenticity right now that I get to show in a video soon. So, but Gas House Gang cards. Check out Pre-War Dreams. He did his goals video, and he was talking about the Gas House Gang, and him and I are probably going to be vying for some of the same cards. But, and then the other thing, I just started this book, but this is, you know, October 64, all about the 1964 season. I picked up a 64 Ken Boyer the other day because I thought, man, that's his MVP year, all this stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick up, I've got obviously some 64 Cardinals, but I'm going to be picking up more. And some of it is just because I'm reading the book and it's tied to that season. I don't know, it might seem silly to you all, but that's just one of the ways I'm going to collect. Other things on my tier 4 part of the list are going to be, I'm going to continue with, you know, sets and players that I'm working on. Like if it's a 66 Hall of Famer that I don't have yet, I'm probably going to pick it up. 62 Hall of Famer. And if they're good pricing, right? I'm not necessarily going and looking just for those cards, but if they become available to me, and I apologize, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, but if they become available to me, I'm going to do it. 61, 60, all these great sets that I've gotten kind of a start on, because I'm like, I aspire to be like Mike Baseball Collector and Chris from Missouri. I want to be able to, I'll never be on their level, but you know what I mean? I want to have the player runs that also accumulate into Hall of Fame runs from sets. I'm not trying to build an entire 1966 top set, but I am trying to get all the Hall of Famers from it. That's one that I will always, and I've gotten a ton of those cards. So we'll continue to do that. Of course, I have my focus players, if you will. Stan the Man, I'm gonna get those cards. Larry Doby, I'm gonna get those cards that I need. Yogi, I'm gonna get those cards. Bob Gibson, those players that I'm trying to complete a player run on. When the time is right, I don't become hyper fixated with it, because then I feel like I don't get as good of a deal. Now we'll get into tier 1. There is a couple cards of those players that I'm a little bit more fixated on. But that casts a really broad net, right, with this tier 4. So, and you're thinking, man, Joe, that's your budget right there. Well, I'm going to just buy the deals as they come along. I am not going to necessarily bend everything in my will and my budget just to hit those. That's just if the price is right, it comes along, and it fits one of those categories, I'm probably going to pick it up. Not to mention, when you're saving for a larger purchase, I'm the kind of person, I can't go very long. Maybe it's, call it an addiction, whatever, but I can't go very long without doing something. So if I can pick up a 64 Ken Boyer for, I think I've got one coming, decent copy, like EX copy, and I think it's coming to me shipped for like $4.63. I'm going to buy those type of cards, right? I can skip, buying a soda at work and, or a Monster energy drink at work and almost pay for that card. So very, very reasonable. Now let's move on to tier 3. So now we're getting into a little bit more money. But also really, it's going to be some cards. There's still going to be some groupings. Like this is where I move some of the Gas House Gang to. Like there's 4, and actually one of them is not even all Gas House Gang, but I want to pick up a Pepper Martin card. I want to get a Leo DeRocher card in a Cardinals, from 33 Gowdy, 34 Gowdy, something like that. I want to get a Paul Dean, like a 39 play ball Paul Dean, or a 34 gold medal flower Paul Dean, something like that. I also want to pick up something in Bob O'Farrell. You know, that's a player that I'd heard of but didn't know a whole lot about. And I'm interested in picking up something. He was the MVP, 1926 MVP for the Cardinals, catcher the year, the first time a catcher's ever won MVP, and at least I think in the National League. Maybe it was up to that point in baseball history. But anyway, Bob Farrell is O'Farrell is somebody that I want to get. So those four players I'm a little bit more fixated on. And then also, this is where I've been working really since I got back into the hobby, working backwards on a Mantle run. So I don't know that I'll ever own a 52 Topps Mantle. I'll never say never. Same thing way with the 51 Bowman. I don't know. I'll never say never. If I did get into it, it'd be very low grade, and things would just have to align for that to ever happen. But I want to try to get back through 53 anyway. So I've been working backwards. I had a couple from when I was a kid, really just one true Mantle. And anyway, I'm at, I need a 63. And I'm looking, the reason I put these lower down the list, you're probably thinking, Joe, Mantles are expensive. You know, the reason I put a little bit lower is I'm not looking for high grade Mantles. Most of my Mantles are in the 2 to 4 range. So 63 Mantle in the 2 to 4 range is not going to break the bank. Now, the next two I need, after I get 63, that would basically finish off the 60s minus some of the combo cards or leaders cards. I don't have a ton of those, but I'm focusing on just his, you know, flagship standalone cards to start with. I do have a few combos and leader cards, but not many. But after that, that would take me back. Then I would need 59 and 58. So same thing. I'm going to look for a 2 or 4 in those. Those are more expensive even in a 2 or a 4 than a 63, but achievable, right? Those are things that if they come to me, I'm going to snag one of those up. I'm not saying I'm going to, you know, go out of my way to, you know, hyperfixate or focus on getting those 3 knocked out. I probably should, you know, some of y'all might think, well, why don't you just do that? I really like to shop. I want to get the deal. If I become fixated, then do I get the deal? I don't know. This is just how I choose to do it. So that's kind of my tier 3. Then moving into tier 2, I would say that these are probably, like, in the condition that I'm looking at, are sub $1,000 cards. They definitely all have the potential to be much higher than that, but in my budget, or what I'm looking for, lower grade, maybe to like mid-grade, maybe, probably really lower grade on all these. But a couple of them are T206s, and they are the Rube Waddell, the portrait with the blue background. I absolutely love that card. I love his story ever since I saw Ken Burns' baseball documentary about him 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, I guess now. I've really thought about his story, and then when you look at his stats and things like that, Rube Waddell stands out to me, and I like the portrait the best. Next would be Sam Crawford. I think Sam Crawford, you know, like so many great players, like Scottie Pippen and, you know, you name it, all these guys that played second fiddle to bigger stars like Sam Crawford did to Ty Cobb, but still yet, you look at his body of work, his stats, and then also, you know, reading about him in Glory of Their Times made me realize, you know, how much I really would enjoy having one of his cards. So then I really would like to pick up a, you know, Playing Days Ducky Medwick, and that's, there's not a whole lot out there, but the Diamond Stars is such a cool card. So the 1935 to whatever, the 36, 37 Diamond Stars. Joe Ducky Medwick from the, you know, Gas House Gang. I really want to add one of those, and they tend to be a little bit pricier in a decent grade, so that is also on the list. And then from player runs that I talked about earlier, these are like 49 Bowman Yogi is one that with the red background, I want to get a nice centered copy. It could be a 2, 3, 4. I'm fine with that, but I want to get a nice centered copy of that. And then the same thing with the 52 Bowman Stan Musial. Be happy with a 3 or 4 or something like that. And those cards, I really want to get that. And then a 48 Bowman Warren Spahn, because I am working on the 48 Bowman Hall of Fame run, and I need Spahn. It's the most expensive one I have left. And then Red Schoendienst, and him being a Cardinal great, those two are in my tier 2. I want to prioritize those. I know they're a little bit more expensive. Schoendienst is really kind of surprising how much that card goes for him. Not that he wasn't a great player, but he doesn't get tons and tons of hobby love, I don't think. But those two cards are definitely in there. And then I need more Ted Williams in my collection. The Splendid Splinter is somebody that I don't have any of his cards. I just, haven't made a point of it, but he was such a great American veteran. He was an outdoorsman. I'm also an outdoorsman. So there's just so many things I love about Ted Williams that it's a shame. And I'm probably could have put in the lower tier that, hey, if a nice 56 Ted Williams comes up, I may pounce on it. But really kind of prioritizing tier 2, that if I could get a nice 50 or a 51. I love the 50 Bowmans, love the 51 Bowmans. They're the same image, just different shaped cards. I think they're great. I think that particular, image is one that I really, really like. And I think the value is still there pretty well. They're not super overpriced. So that kind of is in my tier 2. And then also in my tier 2, I put down 3 guys that really, from a price-wise, could be tier 3. These are just ones that I'd like to have a card representing them. So they're kind of like tier 2A if they become available. But I'd love to get, I don't have any Jimmy Fox, I don't have any Hank Greenberg, and I don't have any Mel Ott. So those 3 guys, and their cards can be potentially super expensive, right? I've missed out twice this year on a 33 Gaudy Mel Ott, the portrait with the green background. I love it. I had one that I got countered on it. It wasn't even, I should have accepted the counter. I kicked myself for that one. It's kind of haunting me. The other one was at bids, and you put in your best bid sometimes, even when you try to snipe, and sometimes you lose, and that's what happened on that. So Mel Ott, 33 Gaudy, green background portrait is definitely possibility of something that I want to acquire this year. So got those 3. So let's jump up to tier 1. So you're probably all thinking this list is crazy, Joe. You got too much. You're probably right. And I don't expect to fill every one of these. I don't expect to check every one of these off my list. I, at least in my mind, think that I need to cast a wide net. I don't deal well with going too narrow of a focus. So tier 1, but I would say that this is probably the next big card that I will acquire, I think. So this is tier 1, but this is the number 1, is a 48 leaf Stan Musial. I'm looking at some now. I'd like to hold out for a show to maybe, what I find with shows is it's nice. You can potentially save on certain aspects of purchases that I will not say in case the government is listening. But which I know they're not, but you can save on that. But prices tend to sometimes, you go to these big shows and it's like they know, you may pay up for a 48 leaf. So it might be an instance where I do buy one of these on eBay. So I'm looking at a 1, maybe a 2 on the high end because this is such a pricey card. So, but 48 leaf Stan Musial is probably number 1 with a bullet in my search this year to acquire. So I can kind of definitively say I will have one of those at some point sooner rather than later. And then after that is a 49 Bowman Larry Doby. I would love to say the 48 leaf Larry Doby, but my goodness, is that very pricey. And I can deal with a low grade card, but some of the ones that I've seen that might be in my budget do not look like a card that I necessarily want to own. So I love the image on the 49 Bowman Larry Doby. So that is probably more likely to be my big purchase for Larry Doby this year. Next on the list, and these aren't necessarily now in a particular order for the rest of this list, definitely not by value or anything like that, but T206, the Tris Speaker. I think Tris Speaker is another one of those underrated guys with like 3,600 hits. Great defensive player, center fielder. Really like to add a T206, a Tris Speaker, I think. The next 3 are rookie cards because I think I skipped over that. Tier 4 along with my player runs is the post-war rookie set. To backtrack a little bit, that's big to me. Call it, what they say, chalk or whatever. I call it me being basic redneck. I don't know, basic card collector. But I do love post-war Hall of Fame rookie cards. That is also a list that I've been chipping away at. And there's still a lot of minor rookies or reasonably priced rookies. I've got some at grading now that are going to help fill out that list. But of the 3 larger post-war rookies, I guess the 49, I already have the 48 Bowman Musial, but the 49 Bowman Larry Doby would fill that role for me too. So, excuse me, that kind of crosses that off as well. But these are the next 3 on the list. And they are, like I said, no particular order, but I need a 68 01 Ryan. I've wanted that card since I was a kid. I really just need to decide, how much of a budget I'm going to go after. Am I going to go after a really nice Eye Appeal 3, or am I going to save a little bit more money and try to buy a 5? I don't know. That's where we'll just see where it's at. Next is a 54 Ernie Banks. Biggest thing there is going to be the top to bottom centering. I can't deal with the ones that are, and most of them are off top to bottom, and I really, that affects my personal eye appeal requirements. So that, is going to be, if the situation's right. I found one at the National last year, but it's kind of out of my budget. It was on like day number 3, and but it would have been good. It would have met that. And it was raw, and I don't hesitate, to buy raw. I've been burnt on some lower end raw, but never anything higher end. So, but I would have bought that. But 54 Ernie Banks, not to ramble, definitely up there. And then 55 Sandy Koufax. I want a Clemente too. I don't have the Clemente, but I want the Koufax first. That's the card that of the 55s. The couple big rookies there. I want to get Koufax first. Clemente would be something that I would go after once I checked Koufax off the list. I definitely want the Clemente, but I like the 56 better. I know not everybody feels that way, but I would like to get a 56 Clemente. You could probably put that in tier 2. That might be a card that if it came up, I would like to have that. But 55 Sandy Koufax, definitely something that I want to think about. And then the next two are pricier. Like I said, these aren't in order. These are kind of, I added them on because I blame Aaron a little bit from Value Vintage with it shows me all the Hornsby stuff. I definitely want a Raja card. I want a Rogers Hornsby, but it has to be in a Cardinals uniform. I don't want to puke every time I see Cubs at the bottom of a card. No offense to Cubs fans, but I don't want that. That's funny. I don't even really hate the Cubs or anything. I just had to get a little dig in there. But if I'm spending that much money on a card, I want him in a Cardinals uniform, right? And then the next is going back to Ted Williams. Obviously, down the road, down the way, Grill card for me would be a 39 play ball. I would really like to have that card. I could see myself once again but I know that's not happening this year. But a 40 or a really low grade 41 play ball, maybe. If I could knock the Musial and the Dobie out early enough in the year and really save some money up before the National or something, I don't know. We'll see. But those two kind of round out tier 1. I think that's 1, 2, 5, 8 cards in my tier 1. I know I'm not getting all 8 of those cards, but I want to give myself some room. Now, all this to say that I could blow my budget on who knows what. A nice collection might come my way, something else might swing my way. That I want it all. That's my problem. But this is my best way to try to come up with some kind of structure of what I think I want to try to achieve this coming year. Doesn't look like I'm going to be going to Strongsville, as much as I hate to say it. I mentioned it before on the channel, but my son, I'm a Cub Scout leader, and my son's big spring camporee is that weekend, and I just I don't want him to miss it. And more importantly, in a leadership role with scouting, I don't want to put the rest of the group in a bind with me not being there. So that's probably going to keep me from going to Strongsville. Now, it did 2 or 3 years ago, the camp out got canceled because of inclement weather at the last minute. If that was to happen this year, I will just get in the car and start driving, and somebody out there will have to let me sleep on the floor, the couch in their hotel room or something, because I'm coming if it happens. But it doesn't look like it's going to. But I will be going to the National. There will be maybe some, I do want to hit possibly the National down in Nashville. I don't know exactly when that's, I know they do it a couple times a year. Maybe make it down to that. Definitely going to be going out and doing some more card shows to see Chris from Missouri and Billy Ballgame and Tom and the rest of the crew out there. I had fun. I've only made it out to one of them, but it was a blast. So I'm definitely going back, and that's a great vintage show. So who knows what I might come into contact with, there that'll blow the budget. I don't know. I don't have a lot of self-control, but this list is an idea of kind of giving myself some guidelines, something to shoot for. I think I would do well if I could just keep my eye on the prize. It's just very, very hard for me to do. And the other thing in here I didn't really talk about is, I buy a lot of raw. I like buying raw. I find deals on it. I like, sometimes I can buy that card that, it's like, they're calling it, good to very good, but I think it might, it might be a 4 or 5. And I'm not always right, but sometimes I am. So I can get a deal. I can stretch my dollar to get the card that's in a little bit better shape. Centering is a huge thing for me. It's not the end all be all, but so eye appeal, all those things, they might seem cliche, but they're very true. But I like to buy raw and have it graded. So grading bill, I'm one of those people that's silly enough to spend money. I've got a rather large submission at PSA right now, and I just sent off some things to SGC because as much as I favor PSA, I also like SGC. So I dropped, actually today, dropped off about 8 cards at my LCS to SGC. So gotta have money for grading bills too. So we'll have to factor that all into this whole thing. But that's kind of where I'm at for my 2025 outlook goals. I would love for you all to be my accountability buddies, and the first time I get on here and show a card that was not on there, you can point it out and say, Joe, that wasn't on your list. I'm fine with that. Maybe that's what I need as well. But that's that's it. I'm proud of myself. I only went 26 minutes here. It's not as long as I thought it would be. If you've been with me this entire 26 minutes, listen to me ramble on about what I'm going to buy. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you even more if you comment and give me an idea what you think. But really, this is cathartic for me to say it out loud, to write it down on a piece of paper. Maybe that will help me stay the course, if you will. So, but thank you all very much, and we will see you on the next one. I am going to try to do, now that we're through the holidays, I'm going to try to do a few more videos about what I don't know. I'm going to keep my card stories going. I definitely will have pickups still coming. I got some now that are coming that I'll be doing some pickup videos on that, and some grading reveals. So, but really appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Keep it a little redneck.